Over the last few years, regular patrons of beef snacks and soft drinks in traffic would have noticed something disturbing. The makers of these products have introduced more expensive items while reducing the offering of the regular priced ones. The manufacturers do this to keep customers happy while trying to mask the fact that the customers are in fact getting less for more. So why is food, processed, cooked, or raw, so expensive in Nigeria? The price of food rests on three pillars: infrastructure, or the lack thereof; security, or the lack thereof; and the agricultural value chain, or the lack thereof. High food prices, apart from inflation, are a sign that Nigeria does not produce enough food to feed itself and doesn't import enough to cover the shortfall. With that in mind, let us look at each of these factors one by one. Our agricultural practices in Nigeria are distinctly archaic. Only 1% of the farmland in the country is irrigated, meaning that most farmers rely on God to water their crops. Disruption of the seasons due to climate change means that the planting season for 2021 will be delayed, which means that there will be a small scarcity because we have not stored enough to cover the delayed planting season. And this brings us to the issue of infrastructure. To say that Nigeria lacks infrastructure is to state the obvious. Nigeria has 33 silos, each with a storage capacity of between 11,000 metric tons and 100,000 metric tons. For a country of at least 150 million people, let's do the math. Our maximum storage capacity is 1.3 million metric tons. The average person eats about 2 kilograms of food per day, meaning that we need to be able to store 300,000 tons to feed all Nigerians for one day, assuming 150 million people. What this means is that all the silos in Nigeria can only store enough to feed Nigerians for just over 4 days. These silos are for grains and other dry goods, and we haven't even talked about the lack of cold storage for fresh produce like tomatoes. Roughly 60% of the tomatoes farmed in the country are wasted before they get from the farms to the primary markets. That is a function of poor power supply. Bad roads mean that even more of the fresh produce rots in the rather hot trucks that convey them from the primary markets to the townships. This ends up creating scarcity, thus raising the prices of what finally makes it to the town. The third leg of this unholy tripod is security. As of 2016, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization, inland fishing, that is fish from around the Lake Chad, Busa, and Argungu regions, accounts for 54.6% of Nigeria's fish produce. Between the start of the Boko Haram insurgency in 2011 and the cancellation of the EO contracts in late 2015, Boko Haram was not strategic. Since 2016, Boko Haram became more strategic by looking to raise taxes. That led to targeted attacks in and around the fish-producing towns of Baga, Mongunu, and others, as well as the extortion of money and fish from villagers in that access. Naturally, fish production has reduced. The lack of security has also affected a lot of other regions. As part of the Terror in the Food Basket report in 2014 and 2015, SBM spoke to farmers in Benue, Nasarawa, and Plateau states who had not, as of 2015, been to their farms for 2 years. The situation since then has gotten worse. In the Northwest, farmers cannot access their farms unless they pay protection money to bandits. This situation has crept down to the Southwest as well, made worse by repeated contests with herdsmen for land and water. This triple whammy of farmers unable to farm because of insecurity, poor infrastructure leading to loss of produce, and the archaic nature of our agricultural practices leads to a scarcity of food. Naturally, when something is scarce, prices go up. Then add to this government policies that are not well thought out. Food prices will continue to rise. The latest NBS inflation report put food inflation at over 20%, a figure consistent with the experience of many Nigerians as they attempt to feed on a day-to-day basis. In addition, a survey conducted in 16 states showed that up to 13.8 million people could be food insecure later this year, with populations in Niger, Kaduna, Katsina, Kebbi, and parts of Sokoto, Bauchi, Gombe, Jigawa, as well as the northeast states of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe at risk. Put together, this means that the government's focus on self-sufficiency in food production has failed. However, there is no need to persist down this path. In the immediate term, restrictions on imports of staple foods should be lifted at once to avert further increases in food prices and scarcity of food, which could trigger further social unrest. In the medium and long term, there should be a focus on the mechanization of agriculture, as well as the adoption of climate-resistant agricultural practices to improve yields. Finally, the insecurity issues that have now made farming an extreme sport in many areas must be addressed in a holistic manner that encompasses a greater police presence outside major cities and state capitals, as well as a resolution of the underlying drivers of insecurity, which center on a lack of economic opportunity.